Important positive midah, positive trait. Can anyone guess which one is the most important midah to possess? A positive midah. Kindness, simcha. These are all beautiful midot. What is that?
Being grateful.
This beautiful, important midah. But there's one that's the most important of all the midot that you can ever possess. If you don't have it, you have nothing. If you have it, you have quite a bit.
Humility.
Humility is also important, but it's not the most important.
Emet.
Emet. Midat ha-emet. Truth. So tonight we're speaking about truth, and I'm sure you can guess what's next week. Sheker. The opposite of truth. Okay. In order for us to talk about truth, we have to first define it. A lot of people think that it's okay, it is acceptable for each one to have his own set of truth. Truth is really something absolute. What is not truth is false. There cannot be more than one truth. And that's really common sense, it's logic. I saw a saying which pretty much says it in different words. You are entitled to your own opinion, but not to your own facts. Does everyone understand this expression? You're entitled to your own opinion, but not to your own facts. I mean, facts are facts. Either it's this or it's that. It's not that there are different sets of facts in any particular situation. But if you try to do some research about truth, how the non-Jewish world sees it, you will find that philosophers actually attempted to understand it and to define it in their own ways, and there are various theories about truth. But I would like to say that it's all a play of words. No matter how you look at it, how you cut it, they avoided the ultimate truth, and that is why they could not agree on what is truth. And the ultimate truth is Hashem. Hashem emet. Hashem is true. And only once you begin with that point, as a starting point, can you begin to understand everything else that revolves around that. But without introducing that, you're going to have a very difficult time in convincing others of what the truth is. And that is where people become a little bit confused in thinking, what's wrong with each one believing in his own truth? Who's to say that one is more true than the other, and so forth? So it is important to keep in mind that if we want to understand what the truth is, other than speaking the truth, which we'll talk about, of course, as well, we have to begin with this important point, the starting point called Hashem. Hashem being the ultimate truth. But what is truth? Truth is not necessarily what you see as a fact. Because sometimes what you know and see as a fact is asur, is forbidden for you to tell others about. It could be lashon hara, but it's the truth. You see, it's tricky. Truth is not necessarily what you see and what you know. A better definition, therefore, of emet, of truth, is what serves goodness and what serves the Creator. What serves the ultimate purpose and tachlit of creation. We once defined good. What's good? Well, what may be good for me may not be good for you. It's relative. In human terms, good is something relative. But the ultimate good is a term that Hashem uses when He created the world, and He says, after His creation, this is good. That goodness is perfect. That goodness serves a purpose. That can only be good because it's complete. He created it for man, for the benefit of man and for the benefit of creation. So the same is true with truth. What serves Him, what serves creation, is true. And sometimes what I know to be true may not serve creation. It may serve, on the contrary, something called sitra hara, the other side, the impurities. Even if it's a fact, but it's Lashon Hara, as an example. It may not be beneficial. It may be prohibited for some good reason. So it's important to understand that truth ultimately is something that serves the Creator, something that serves the ultimate tachlit. Even though we go through life learning many things, we hear what others have to say, whether it's their opinion or whether it's an idea, and we may become confused from hearing so many ideas and seeing so many things in trying to figure out what the truth is. Man does absorb a lot of information during his life, true. Nevertheless, it is possible, according to our tradition, for man, for the human being, to arrive at the ultimate truth. He can, on his own, just like Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu did not necessarily have a higher IQ than all of you. He probably did, but, right? It was not because of the higher IQ that he was able to reveal that there is a God, that there is a creator to this world. How did he do it? He thought a lot into it. Well, a lot of people think, but are they thinking in the right way? The Kabbalah says it very clearly, that because of the neshama that we have within us, we're capable of knowing the truth. Because that neshama is a chelek eloka mimal, it is a part of God. It comes from the kisei kavod, according to the Kabbalah, it comes from the chair of Hashem, as it is called. It comes from Him. In that location, there's only emet, there's no sheker. There's only truth. So our neshama that is taken from there is pure. It therefore knows deep down in its subconscious self, it knows the truth. And therefore it can arrive at the truth if it makes a decision to try to discover what the truth is. And if one therefore makes an effort, regardless of whether he's Jewish or not, he will in the end, if he's honest and truthful, in other words, if he applies this midah called truthfulness, of being honest with himself, because of the koach of his neshama in him, he will be able to realize and admit that there is a creator to this world. Rabbis tell us that there's another way we can tell that there is a creator to this world. Chotamo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu emet. The seal of Hashem is emet. Now what does it mean, the seal of Hashem is emet? Well, the simple meaning, the Gemara brings down the word emet. Aleph is the first letter, Taf is the last letter, Mem is right in the middle. Hashem is the first, Hashem is the last, Hashem will always be around. That is one way of understanding the seal. The seal meaning the essence of Hashem is something that we cannot, of course, fully comprehend, but it's something that will always be around, was always around. He's everything. So his seal represents his essence. But there's more to that. The Pasuk says, Kol orchot Hashem chesed ve'emet. All the ways of Hashem, the way he conducts himself in this world, the entire creation bespeaks of what he is, of who he is. The ways of Hashem are chesed ve'emet. In other words, if you analyze the creation, if you see his doings, it's all about truth, it's all about kindness and about goodness. So his seal, his mark, is in creation, in his ways and in his deeds. That is an additional idea of Chotamo shel Emet, or Chotamo shel Hashem. Also, in every part of creation, in every detail, in every cell, you can see Hashem's imprint, his handiwork, the harmony, the beauty, the design, and everything. So the seal of Hashem, the essence of Hashem, can be also found in everything that exists. His imprint, his seal. Another way to look at it Kabbalistically is mentioned by the Maharal Prague. Look at the word emet. From the letter Aleph to the letter Mem, there's 13 letters. And from the letter Mem afterwards till the end, the last letter Tav, there's an additional 13 letters. I'm talking about including the end letters of Kaf Sofit, Mem Sofit, Nun Sofit. If you count the letters, you will have 13 till Mem and an additional 13 from Mem, after Mem till the end. 13 is what? Echad. Echad, the numerical value of the word Echad is 13. And obviously you have 13, you have 13, you have 26, which is also the name of Hashem. So Kabbalistically, this is the Chotamo Shel Hashem, this is the seal of Hashem, which is represented by the word Echad, before the Mem and after the Mem. Just another idea of the seal of Hashem. Therefore, the Kabbalah explains that whoever uses this midah of Amit to analyze his neshama, where it comes from, what it's doing here, you begin to ask questions and you use your neshama, not your feelings, not your desires, but your neshama. If you use the koch of the neshama to figure out things, you will be able to discern, you'll be able to figure out the truth about creation. Not everything, we don't know everything there is to know, but you will be able to see with much more clarity. This is one way, of course, that a person can reach to know the truth. There is an additional way, which we'll talk about a little bit later. One who's not such a big thinker, one who does not analyze as much, can nevertheless come to know the truth. One, of course, who learns Torah and is truthful in his mannerism, in his conduct, will also be able to know what is right from what is wrong. Because it's not enough to just know the truth. What am I supposed to do now? Without the Torah as a map, as a guide, we will not necessarily know everything. Some things, perhaps, that make sense. As the rabbis tell us, had we not had the Torah, we would be able to figure out some things even from animals. We will be able to learn certain characteristics from birds, from cats, from ants. There's certain things that we would know on our own, but we still need the Torah because there are so many things in life. Business, for example. There's so many details about business law. How to conduct oneself properly, truthfully, honestly, that without the Shulchan Aruch, without halachot guiding our life, we may be biased in thinking that this is the right thing to do. But are we really objective? Without Torah, it is difficult to be objective. So this is an additional tool, together with the midah of emet, of wanting to do the right thing, the correct thing, the true thing, that we will hopefully be able to accomplish what is expected of us. The fulfillment of the mitzvot according to the ways that Hashem set up for us. We find many, many pesukim in the Tanakh about the importance of this midah, about how beautiful it is, one who always speaks the truth, how when one departs this world, only those who spoke the truth and were honest will be with Hashem. As the pasuk says in Tehillim, Mi yagur be'olecha, mi yishkom b'makom kodshecha, olech tamim, ufoel tzedek, v'dover emet bilvavo. Those who are sincere, those who are just and upright, those who speak the truth in their heart. Now here is an interesting additional word that we need to understand. What did David HaMelech have in mind when he said, v'dover emet bilvavo, in your heart? How do you speak the truth in your heart? Rabbis tell us that the tzaddikim, the chachamim in the past, spoke truth even in their heart. What that means is that if they intended to do something in a particular way, they did not change their mind. If they had intended through their thoughts, even though they didn't verbalize it, they didn't make a promise, they intended to do something, they kept it that way. For example, if they intended to sell something for a certain price, that was their idea, but somebody came to them who was ignorant and they could have easily charged them more. Still, since they had fixed a price in their mind, they went along with it. And there's a story of a rabbi who was at his store, and he was in the middle of Kriyat Shema, or the middle of the Amidah, in a place where he could not answer or talk. And a non-Jew came and wanted to buy something, and the rabbi did not answer. So the non-Jew understood from that, his impression was that the rabbi does not agree with his price. So he says, Rabbi, I'll raise it. I'll pay you more for it. No answer, no response. He raises it again and again, time after time. No response. Wow, the rabbi wants so much money for it. He's willing to give him more money. Finally, he finishes his prayer and he says, here, take what you wanted for the original price that you had come to pay, because that is what I had in mind to charge you. I'm not going to take advantage of you just because you thought I wanted more, where in fact I was praying and couldn't answer you. This is what I had in mind, and a word is a word, a thought is a thought. How many people do that? That's the way it should be. What's wrong with doing that? What's wrong with, in the same way we have to keep our word, what's wrong with keeping your thought? That was my original intent. Do so. Why take advantage? Why? What's wrong with it? Now, in order to properly understand why people take advantage, you have to come back next week when we speak about sheker. When we speak about sheker, we're really going to take apart this whole opposite midah of emet. But a little bit we'll discuss tonight too, of why emet is so difficult. But it shouldn't be. It is possible for everyone to conduct himself honestly and truthfully if he really wanted to. So Hashem therefore loves and is very close to those who speak the truth. Speak the truth in their heart. That everything that they do is with truth. Another pasuk that says it a little bit differently is Karov Hashem lechol korav lechol ashikreuhu ve'emet. Hashem is close to all those who call him in earnest, who are sincere in their prayers. When people pray, they're not necessarily sincere. They're not really asking from the bottom of their heart. And even if they are, they may be thinking about all kinds of other things. They're not necessarily thinking about Hashem, about their relationship with Hashem. So, Karov Hashem lechol korav, to who is Hashem close? To who does he listen? To those who are close to him. To those who call him in a sincere way. They mean what they say. They keep their word. They made a commitment, a neder, for example. Somebody makes a promise and doesn't keep his promise. This man is not an honest, not a sincere person. His words are cheap. So his prayer is cheap. It's very simple. So Hashem listens to those who are serious, to those who are sincere. Another very important pasuk that describes the Jewish people's real nature is a pasuk in Zephaniah Hanavi, that says like this: She'erit Yisrael lo yasu avla velo yidabru kazav velo yimatzeh befihem lashon tarmit. The remnants of the Jews will not do anything that's evil or corrupt, will not lie, and will not cheat. In other words, will not be dishonest in their ways. This is the Navi describing how the Jew should be. And because this is the way it should be, the Chachamim put tremendous emphasis on being very careful not to mislead even Goyim. Don't think just because this man is not Jewish that you can do anything you want, that the mitzvot are only to be kept amongst Jews. On the contrary, you may be making a big Hilul Hashem, desecrating the name of Hashem, if you cheat him, if you lie to a Goy. On the other hand, you could be doing a big Kiddush Hashem if you return some change that he gave you too much, that you may not have to. You feel you're already gone 10 miles away. And if you're close by, then what's the big deal? But let's say you've gone home already. Would you go back to give the store owner more money that you received by mistake? He gave you a $50 bill instead of a $5 bill. change? Would you go back and give it to him? So that's why the Chachamim told us to be very careful, and there's many, many reasons for this. One is not only about being honest, but it has to do with what the Kabbalah explains, that Chaz v'Shalom, when we cheat or take from others, especially from Goyim, it eventually will come to haunt us. Because we are robbing from that camp, from that side, and that camp will eventually rob from us, or take that which we have. Everything in this world is a midah keneged midah. Hashem's system works measure for measure. And we'll talk a little bit about it next week. What happens to money that is stolen? What happens to money that is acquired through thievery, through lies? What happens to that money? There's no blessing. I can tell you right now, there's no blessing with that money. So, it's not just the money, it's not just the blessing, it's the Chilul Hashem. And there's a famous story that you may have heard of with Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach. Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach bought a donkey from an Arab. And his students who were busy preparing the donkey, as they were cleaning him or preparing him, they found a diamond. The Arab had forgotten that he had put, either hung or put somewhere, a precious stone, and just forgot about it. So the students turned to the rabbi. Rabbi, lucky day, you can retire. Look at what we've just found. So the rabbi told his students, I bought a donkey and I did not buy a diamond. That's all I bought. Go back and give the man his diamond. They returned the diamond to the Arab, and the Arab said, praise be the God of the Jews. Praise be the God of Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach. Kiddush Hashem. So sometimes, even though it may be difficult, you may think it's not necessary, you may not be able to, but it's an opportunity to do a Kiddush Hashem. You can sanctify Hashem's name for very little by returning that which is not yours to its rightful owner. Rabbis were very, very careful also not to be meshaneh bediburo. You told somebody something, you promised, keep your promise. Even though you're not cheating, even though you're not stealing, a word is a word, a promise is a promise. You said you were going to do something, you shook hands, and you made a deal with someone, you better be very careful not to break that deal, unless it's mutual. Otherwise, it's a very, 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 very severe sin. It has terrible consequences. You made a promise, keep it. This week's parasha is Parashat Yitro. And in this week's parasha, we see an additional emphasis on Emet in another form. Judges. Judges have to judge, have to resolve disputes. And Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, tells him, listen, when you go about choosing judges, make sure that they're Anshei Chayil, God-fearing, strong people who are not afraid of anyone. Right? That's a very important condition, qualification. And it says, Anshei Emet Sonei Vatza, truthful men who hate Vatza. Vatza means money, stealing the money, taking the money in illegal ways. That's Vatza. What's interesting about this is that even though this is obvious, this is so clear, that you better have good judges, you can't have a corrupt system, there's an emphasis over here on the two, Anshe Emet Sonei Vatza, right next to each other. Truthful people who hate money. Hate money? Who hates money? In other words, they don't value the money as much. You can't buy them, you can't bribe them with the money. Either because they're wealthy or because they simply understand that this is worthless. You need to have individuals with that kind of a personality. They will not fall for money. And the rabbis explained to us that if you really want to test an individual on how honest he is, the greatest test is in areas of money. Lending money and see if he remembers to pay it back. If he doesn't, you can't trust him. Forget it. Gamarno. Anybody who's honest will write it down. I borrowed this money. Now, you should not lend money unless, of course, there's witnesses, unless, of course, you wrote a contract. Why? There are many things that can go wrong. Number one, the guy may die. It can happen. Number two, he may not want to give you back the money. That's a possibility. Number three, he may want to, but he doesn't have it. He lost all his money. There's so many possibilities, like they say Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. Never therefore give more than what you're willing to lose. Because if you gave it, there's a 50-50 chance you're not going to get it back. So if you're going to give money to somebody, just assume 50% there's a chance you're not going to see that money back. Then therefore, only give what you're willing to lose. And then you won't be sorry. Very simple rule. But unfortunately, the mistakes repeat themselves in every generation. People fall for the same mistake. It's a great deal. He promised me 20% return on my money. If it's too good to be true, it can't be true. Right? That's what they tell you. It's too good to be true. Are you going to really fall for it? Oh, I'm sure. I trust him. You trust him? Let's say he's honest. Let's say you trust him. There are other reasons why the thing can fall apart. Maybe he thought it was a good deal. He wasn't telling you all the details. Be careful. The greatest test of honesty is in money. If you want to know if somebody's honest, test him with money. How he's careful with money, what he does with other people's money. There's a lot of ways to test. But that's one way. Anshe emet, truthful people, honest people, is when it comes to areas of money, they're extremely careful with other people's money. How they handle other people's property. That too. Rabbis tell us that not only judges, but the entire world. In Pirkei Avot it says, "Ha'olam omed shlosha dvarim, al adin, al ha'emet, ve'al ha'shalom," on justice, on truth, and on peace. If we lack justice, we lack peace, we lack emet, truth, the world would fall apart. Look what's happening today. It's already falling apart. That's because we're missing shalom in many countries. We're missing din. We're missing emet, of course. So the world cannot continue to prosper, to function properly, to exist, because the pillars, the important pillars, are missing. And that is what the Kabbalah explains, that if down here below there is b'gida, if there is treason, and there's lack of honesty and truth, then in essence it's a clear denial of Hashem's existence, Chas v'Shalom, in the world. People therefore feel they're not accountable. They lose their kesher, their connection with God. By being so untruthful, by being so dishonest, this is what it leads to. It leads to a severing of the kesher with the Almighty. Which means, nobody sees anyway. Just imagine if all these big guys, and I'm not going to mention names because you know these people. Imagine all these people who were caught doing some Ponzi scheme. Imagine if they knew at the time that God was listening and God was watching. They wouldn't even do it. But the thief doesn't think of that. The dishonest person is so crazy about making a few more dollars, he doesn't take the moment to think, but wait a minute. You know what the consequences of this is in this world and in the world to come? There is a Hebrew saying, Sof ganav litliya. The end of a thief is that he ends up in the gallows. In the end, he will be caught. Something will happen to him. Doesn't he know this? It's written all over. It has happened to so many people before him. There's a cute story about a rabbi who once went collecting money for an important cause. He was about to give up. Didn't do well. In the meantime, they told him, listen, there's a Jewish prisoner sitting in jail, can you go speak to him and give him some musar? Perhaps speak to him, give him a speech about what he did. What did he do? He's a thief, and he got caught. So speak to him. Maybe he'll do teshuvah. And the rabbi was about to go home because he was not successful in raising funds. He figured, okay, I'll do a mitzvah. He goes to the jail, and he tells the thief off. You see, crime doesn't pay. You're caught. He says, Rabbi, you got it all wrong. If I didn't succeed the first time, I'll try again, and I'll succeed the second time. The rabbi said, wow, if the thief can think that way, then for sure I can do that. If I did not succeed the first time, I'm going to try again. He learned something from the thief. Now, it's a cute story because it tells us, of course, not to give up in the pursuit of doing good things. But what's the psychology or the mentality of the thief? He's going to try again. He really thinks he can get away with it. All those people who are speeding with their cars and their cops are chasing them, it happens almost every day. What are they thinking? For us, for Jews, okay, let's say you do succeed in getting away with it. But what about upstairs? They have cameras, better than the ones down here below. Right? I mean, you're going to get away from it there? I mean, come on. So it is a form of denial. It is a form of denial that at that very moment, he doesn't believe. And that is why the Torah says a ganav gets a penalty of paying double if he's caught. Whereas an armed robber doesn't have that penalty. Why not? An armed robber robs in the middle of daylight. He's not afraid of human beings, and he's not afraid of God. Broad daylight. A thief does it at night, quietly, hiding. He doesn't want to be caught by human beings, right? So the Torah says, you have more fear for humans than you have for Hashem? You're going to pay double. You're going to get a knas. You're going to get a penalty. You're going to be penalized for doing that. That's worse. If one is not afraid of neither the human being or God, it's one thing. It's bad enough. But to be afraid more of humans than to be afraid of God, what's that? It's hypocrisy. So anyway, that's why he pays double. So when it comes to observance of Torah and mitzvot, it is possible for one to put on tefillin every day, to have a kosher home, to keep Shabbat even, but to steal. And that produces a sort of contradiction in his life, because here he's following the Torah, he believes in it, and here he doesn't believe that God is watching, and he's against this. So it's a kind of contradiction, and many people live with contradictions in their life. Yes, that's part of the problem. And that is why we have teshuvah. We need to correct our mistakes, because sometimes we are contradicting ourselves in doing some things and not the other. Just that when it comes to thievery, obviously, it's much more serious than other areas of the Torah, because you're hurting other people. Cheating and lying and stealing, it's not just between you and God, you're also hurting other individuals. And that is why it is something much more serious. But the seriousness of it, of course, is the fact that one is, in a sense, denying that Hashem is watching over him. Rabbis tell us that if the world would conduct itself in a righteous way, then Hashem mashkif aleinu betzedek. Then Hashem will look at us with righteousness as well, and will be kind to us, and will bless us. Everything in the world will be just fine. If there is no tzedek in the world, if there's a lack of justice, judges are not doing a good job, corruption and the like, a lack of truth, then there's a lot of pur'aniyot, all kinds of calamities, all kinds of problems that plague this world. And people lose their monies, people lose their lives as a result of that. So there's a whole list. If you're interested to see, there's a list actually in the words of the rabbis as to why certain things happen. Why do wildfires occur? Why do earthquakes occur? Why do floods occur? Why do all kinds of diseases occur? War. Why do these things happen where people lose their life and their monies? It is because of certain sins that are being committed. So when one sees something happening, and he is familiar with this source that is brought down in the Talmud and elsewhere, he can more or less figure out what's going on in the world. Why are we suffering so much from all kinds of problems? This midah of emet is important to begin with children. Training children to say the truth, being strict with them when they are lying, when they are cheating or stealing from others. But the best chinuch, the best lesson is by example. Imagine a father hears a knock on the door, and who is that knock on the door? Somebody coming to collect some charity. And he tells his boy to tell the man that his father is not home. Well, the boy goes and tells the man, my father told me to tell you that he's not home. Yeah. What did the child just learn? That it's okay to lie. It's okay not to give tzedakah. What a poor example. What a terrible lesson. Another thing that a father can do wrong, or a mother, is to promise a child, if you behave, I'll buy you something for your birthday. And they don't buy in the end. But they promised. Remember we said at the very beginning, promise, keep your word. If you can't keep your word, then don't promise, or promise something smaller. Don't teach your child that it's okay to promise and not you keep your word. Anybody entering a new business venture and wants to succeed, wants the business to grow and prosper, there's a certain way, there's a certain segula that will give it a better chance for success, especially if it's partnership. Because in partnerships, you know, there's a lot of room for unfortunately, for cheating and for lying and for misleading. There was once a rabbi who told a businessman who's about to enter in a new venture, you want me to give you a segula, a very powerful segula. Segula means a powerful metaphysical, in other words, special and unique ingredient that if you follow it, you apply it, you will succeed. He says, yes, let me write it down for you. And he writes down on a piece of paper, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. This is your segula. What kind of a segula is Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet? So he tells him like this. Aleph is emet. If you will conduct your business with emet, then comes Bet, beracha. If you conduct your business with Gimel, gezel, then comes Dalet, dalut, poverty. So you want to know how to succeed? Aleph, Bet. You do it with emet, you will have beracha. You do it with Gimel, you will have Dalet, you will have poverty. You will not succeed. So it's not just a matter of being honest, being truthful, beautiful midah. It is something that will affect our life, will affect our parnasah. It's also a segula for arichut yamim, for a long life. There's a famous Gemara of a great rabbi who arrived in town, got married. This was a very special town. The name of this town was Kushta. Kushta means truth in Aramaic. They only spoke the truth. They never said lies. The entire city. And because of that, this town was known that everybody lived their full life. Nobody lived to 40, 50. Everybody lived to 80, 90, 100, 110. Complete life. Nobody ever died young before their time because they spoke the truth. So this man gets married to somebody from this town and has 2 children. One day, his wife got busy and she was doing her hair. She was involved in doing something which was not completely modest for other people from the outside to see her. The neighbor knocked on the door and she asked to come in to speak to his wife. So the rabbi, being in a very uncomfortable situation, did not want to tell her where his wife was and what she was doing, by mistake told the neighbor, my wife is not home. These 2 children died in a short time. As soon as the people in the community heard about the funeral of 2 children, they said, please leave our city. You apparently said a lie. This has never happened to us. And even though this was a situation where, that was his best answer, he didn't really want to lie, but because this city was always speaking the truth, obviously it was a holy place, and any small lie, even a white lie, right, was unacceptable. And the accusation came down hard on him. There are times, by the way, don't misunderstand me, there are times you're allowed to say a lie, and that is when you compliment your wife and you tell her how beautiful she is. And first of all, it's not a lie, it's true, right? But you're saying it because, not because you really think so at that moment, but because you want to make her feel good. The rabbis say it's welcome, and it's good, and it's a mitzvah to do it. This is how you will have shalom bayit. You will have peace at home. The Zohar even says, tell your wife, all other women in the world are monkeys compared to you. Wow. Yes, that's a beautiful expression. You really mean it? Yes, I really mean it. When you go to a wedding and you see your friend who just married someone and you wonder to yourself, I can't see how he chose her. Sometimes you can't figure out, but people have tastes. And they say in Hebrew, al tam v'reach en nitvakeach. You can't argue about taste. People have a taste. He likes red hair. What do you? Or he likes that. What? Go over to your friend and tell him, kol hakavod, you have good taste. Your wife, Miss America. Give him a compliment. Why? It's not the truth. You don't think so. But guess what? He thinks so. So you're just reassuring him that his choice was good. In his eyes, this is the truth. So you're not really lying. You're just reconfirming what he thinks or what he believes. So sometimes it's okay to do these things, but very, very few times. Don't take this to mean that, you have a free hand to lie whenever you want. There are a few exceptions. Okay, so we spoke about more or less what truth is, how important truth is, how the world cannot exist without truth. Why is truth so difficult to come by? People have a hard time admitting the truth, speaking the truth. Why is it so hard? The Meiri, a great rabbi who lived a few hundred years ago, said the following words: Ha'emet hi kveda v'lachen nosea hem mu'atim. Truth is heavy. That is why there are so few people who are willing to bear it, to carry it. Truth is heavy. Ze mechayev, as we say in Hebrew. It obligates you. Once you admit the truth, once you believe in the truth, it obligates you to live a certain way. People don't want to be obligated. People don't want to be limited. And that is where evolution and all the theories associated with evolution came about. Because religion is limiting. To believe in a God obligates you to live a certain lifestyle. You can't do what you want. So therefore it's just easier to not believe it and to make up another story, another explanation of how we came here and how the world was created. I didn't say that only. One of the students of Darwin said that in a book called Confession of an Atheist. Confession of an Atheist. Why he was an atheist. Why his teacher was an atheist. The real reasons of what led them to believe that. So truth is heavy. It's therefore not something that everybody wants to have or carry. Truth is also something that's very difficult to always possess. You move away a little bit and you're already in falsehood. The shin of sheker, right? Sheker, falsehood, has a shin, is right next door to the taf of emet. Shin of sheker is right next door, right? The two letters are close to each other. So the rabbis explain, look at them. You just move a little bit and you're in sheker. It's therefore very easy to go from emet to sheker. To know the difference of what is true and what is not, you have to learn. It's not easy. So therefore, not everybody succeeds. The rabbis also tell us something very interesting about sheker and emet. Look at the letters of sheker. Shin, kuf, resh. They're right next door to each other. They're one after another. Kuf, resh, shin, right? The letters of sheker are right next to each other. What does that tell you? That for sheker you don't have to work hard. It's very easy to lie. There are many, many lies. Emet, the aleph is the first letter, the taf is the last letter. Then you have mem in the middle. They're so far apart because it's so hard to acquire. So sheker is easy. It's easy. You can always easily lie. Not true, I don't know. Or like they like to do in this country when they go to the court. I don't recall, Your Honor. You're selling a car, be very careful. Don't tell the guy as is when you know the transmission is going to go 2 miles down the road. You can't do that. As is when you know the transmission or something else is about to go kaput. That's stealing, that's misleading. You cannot put a stumbling block before a blind person. And then there, of course, you have the Robin Hoods. He's got enough money anyway. You know, Robin Hoods, they take the money from the rich to give the poor. I'm going to do a lot of tzedakah with this money. The brain, the Yetzirah, the brain is a good attorney. It can justify anything. It's very easy to lie and think it's okay, and think it's a mitzvah even, which we're going to talk about next. How people make mistakes even though they're learned, even though they learn Torah. It's very easy to make a mistake, very easy to lie. Emet, the letters of emet are so much farther apart, it is harder to get by. Therefore, the difficulty lies in acquiring emet is because even though one does have a neshama that is pure, one does have a neshama that comes from above the world of emet, this neshama is enclosed in a physical body, and this physical body has retzonot. It has its own wishes and desires. If a person's wishes and desires, especially if they're evil, are very, very strong, then he will not succeed easily to be mechaven to the truth. He will not succeed easily to focus on what is emet, because there's a clash here with his retzonot, with his inner desires, his animalistic, physical desires. And that is why the Chazon Ish says something beautiful. Chazon Ish, Zechet Tzadik Levracha, who passed away in the 50s, a great rabbi. Last years of his life he was in Israel. He said, look at all these learned scholars, Talmidei Chachamim, who attempt sometimes to be lenient in a halacha. Lenient. He says they will find a source to back up their leniency. Of course they need to. They can't just be random about it. But you know what? If they really went after the solution in a very open-minded way to know the truth without a pre-established interest or agenda to begin with, they would arrive at a different conclusion altogether. So their leniency, in attempting to find a leniency, you know what it's like? There's a game, or there's a sport, I should say, of bow and arrow, right? Shoot the arrow, try to get the bullseye, right? Imagine if you see many trees in the forest where all the arrows are in the bullseye. You will say, wow, this guy is a great archer. What happens? You soon discover that he throws the arrow, and after the arrow hit the tree, then he makes a circle. Yeah? That is what scientists do. That is what people who are not searching for the truth, right? They first throw their arrow, their agenda, okay? Then they circle, they paint a circle that they want to fit their arrow. They've made up their mind. There is no God, Chas v'Shalom. That's out of the question. For them, it's out of the question, right? They had their own arrow. They threw their arrow, shot the arrow, and then they drew the circle. Same thing with a Talmid Chacham, a big rabbi. If that's what he's going to do, if he's going to begin with his arrow, what he wants to do and what he wants to say, and then he's going to paint a circle, that's not going to be a good conclusion. If you're honest and you're truthful, you don't begin with your arrows. You first draw the circle. I want to go to the emet. This is the emet. I want to get there. Then I'm going to shoot and aim for the emet, and hopefully I'll get there. So that is a very important detail over here. The reason why many people fail with emet is because they begin with their own personal agenda, which is, of course, their personal desires. They want to be lenient for some reason, for some interest. So they're trying to justify, trying to paint a circle after the fact. And the same is true with Chazanim. Chazan, you know what a Chazan is? A Chazan is a Shaliach Tzibur. He's the messenger of the Tzibur, of the Kahal, of the congregation. He's going to pray. He's our emissary. If his intention is that people should hear his sweet voice, you think that prayer is going to go anywhere? His kavanah is not pure. The kavanah, the intent of the prayer of that mission should be to reach, to elevate all the prayers of everyone in this room, in the Bet HaKnesset. Then he may succeed. But if he starts off with another reason, a personal reason, then it's not going to work. He's not going to succeed. And that is why one of our prayers that we say every morning, every day, is V'taher libenu le'ovdecha be'emet, that we ask Hashem that He should help us to purify our heart, that we should be able to serve Him be'emet, because the heart is not always pure. It has its own interests, the interests of the physical body, and that are not compatible with the neshama. Today, we're living in the generation of Mashiach. And that means that we have to contend with a very sad phenomena. The sad phenomena, one of them is, the rabbis tell us, Ha'emet tiyeh ne'ederet. The truth will be lacking. Here we're talking about the importance of truth, how we should pursue it, do our best. And here the rabbis tell us, wait a minute, if you're going to live in the generation of Mashiach, you're going to have an extra difficult job. The truth will be lacking. That v'tiyeh na'aset adarim, and it will be found in many groups. Everybody claiming that they have the truth. Why do you think we have 120 parties in the Knesset of Israel? Every member is another party with their own opinion. Everyone thinks they're right. They have the solution on how to make peace with the Arabs. So this is a problem in the generation before Mashiach comes because of so much darkness and impurity in the world, so much materialism. And science has taken over religion in the past 150 years. So science has become very powerful, and science has their own agenda. Everything is a big bang. There is no God. And this, of course, contaminates the airwaves, the newspapers, everything. It contaminates people's minds in thinking like them. They're not after the truth. They're after something else. And because of this, it will be a greater challenge to know the truth. But even so, in the midst of all this darkness that we're in, we will be able to know the truth. How? Many years ago, I had the privilege to be at a Farbrengen of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, very special man, big tzaddik. And he mentioned this Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, that truth will be lacking in the generation of Mashiach. People will not know the truth. It will not be easy to acquire, to figure out. So the Rebbe said, he asked, so nonetheless, how can we still figure out what the truth is? Is it still possible? He says, of course, only by learning Torah. If a Jew sits down and learns Torah, attends classes of Torah, then his focus will be sharpened. He will be able to see with more clarity. It's still not 100% guaranteed. Why? Because it depends on his personal interests and his own agendas. But at least he has a better chance. This is his only chance, actually. As we said in the very beginning, to do things properly, truthfully, we have to learn halachot. We have to. Otherwise, how are you going to conduct yourself? How does one know how to observe Shabbat if he does not know the halachot of Shabbat? How do you expect him? All he does is kiddush and eat halot and gefilte fish. That's all Shabbat is all about. You have to be careful with many, many areas that one would never know unless he learned Hilchot Shabbat. So the halachot, the Torah is very important. In order for a Jew to be able to conduct himself properly and live a life according to the Torah, he needs to learn halachot, even a few minutes every day, to cover the basics. He doesn't have to learn how to slaughter a cow, unless he's going to be a shochet. He doesn't have to learn how to circumcise a child, a boy, unless he's going to be a mohed. There's a lot of halachot you don't have to learn. There's a lot of halachot that don't apply today that will only apply when Mashiach will come, when the Beit HaMikdash will be rebuilt. But the basic halachot, how to wash your hands in the morning, what blessing to make, right? How to keep Shabbat, how to keep a kosher home, how does a married woman conduct herself as far as family purity laws are concerned. These are very important halachot. If you don't know that, they can cause major mistakes. And when we wish a new couple that they should succeed in building a Bayit Ne'eman B'Yisrael, a Jewish home that is devoted and that is founded on the principles of Judaism, that's what we mean. We mean a home that is following the halakha of the Shulchan Aruch. So this is therefore a very important, indispensable tool, the Torah Kedosha, that will help us to know the truth. But as I said in the beginning, there are some people who don't want to know, who have a hard time with the truth. They've made up their minds already that there is no such a thing as God in creation. Then you're wasting your time arguing with them. An honest person has always an open mind. If you ever run into someone, Jewish or not Jewish, who starts telling you all kinds of dogma about evolution and the like, ask him, are you prepared to accept that there is another alternative called creation? Are you willing to accept that there is, you may not be convinced because you are an agnostic, okay, but are you willing to be convinced? Are you willing to accept that there is another alternative? And many scientists will tell you, no, that's out of the question, that's impossible. Well, then you know that you're up against the wall. When somebody rules out the possibility that he cannot disprove there's no God, but he rules it out, that means he doesn't have an open mind. That means he's not an honest person. He's not a truthful person. I wouldn't lend him money either. Yeah. Kabbalah tells us something very special for those of you who have many dreams. Dreams, they come in all kinds of forms and shapes. Most of them are not true. Most of them are things of the past, memories, and the like. But the Kabbalah says something very interesting. What happens in a dream is the physical body is at rest. Especially right before you wake up in the morning, the food has been digested already. So the dreams that you have right before you wake up are purer. There's not so much garbage because the food is gone, and a lot of the food sometimes causes our mind to wander, and we have all this imagination in our dreams too. But right before the morning, especially if you ate many hours ago, there's a better chance that there might be some true dreams. However, the Kabbalah says, if an individual speaks the truth, thinks the truth, has pure thoughts, then the chances are that his dreams will also be true. Because those true dreams come from the world of above, the world of truth, where there's no sheker. All the way up, where the malachim are. You want to be like a malach? You want to know future events like the malachim do? Like the prophets knew? They speak the truth. If a person speaks the truth, his thoughts are always truthful, his chances are that his dreams will contain a lot more truth than the dreams of others. Just like to finish, that as an important way of getting used to speaking the truth is admitting one's mistakes and faults. Even though, B'ezrat Hashem, next week when we speak about sheker, we will figure out what to stay away from that will help us with truth as well. I just want to give you some ideas of what can help one immediately, because it does require a lot of work. But one of the things that can help us immediately is get used to admitting your mistakes. Even if it means admitting to a child that you were wrong, that he is right. And that's very hard. That's sometimes very hard for people to do, to admit a mistake, a fault, when you know you're wrong. That is one way that you can help yourself to get used to speaking the truth. A Baal Teshuvah who will train himself to speak the truth, that midah of truth will help him to continue to be a Baal Teshuvah for the rest of his life. There was a story of an individual who was given this advice. He had a murderous instinct. He used to kill. The rabbi told him, listen, you don't want to go back to your old ways, right? No. I advise you to always say the truth. Always say the truth and you will never fall. You will never make a mistake. And you will remain a real Baal Teshuvah for the rest of your life. Remember, he's a murderer. One day he got upset at his neighbor and he took out the knife and he went to kill him. And somebody saw him. Yankel, where are you going? He has to say the truth. I'm going to kill my neighbor. He says, oh no, I just told everybody what I'm about to do. He stopped himself and went back home. Okay? He's ashamed. He can't do it. There's going to be witnesses too. If you speak the truth, you're going to stay out of trouble. One of the best advices, however, on how to speak the truth and how to be a truthful person is what the Pasuk tells us. The Pasuk says something very interesting. Emet me'eretz titzmach. Truth will grow from the ground. So one rabbi asked, how do you get truth to emerge from the ground? He says, when you bury sheker. When you bury the seeds of sheker, then you get the truth. So we have to bury sheker. That is something we will be speaking about next week. How do we bury sheker? Because that will be the best segula in order to get truth. You want to get truth? You have to first bury the problems of sheker. The good news, of course, is that very soon, even though we're in the days, in the generation of Mashiach, the Navi says that very, very soon, Ki malei haaretz et Hashem kamayim layam mechasim de'ah. People will soon have the tremendous, vast knowledge of God like the waters of the ocean. Like the waters cover the ocean, so much water, that is how much we will soon very much have in knowledge of Hashem. Right now, there's a hester panim. The face of Hashem is being concealed. It is very difficult to know the truth 100%. It is still possible, but not everybody has clarity. There's so many religions and cults and so much balagan and confusion. But very soon, the clarity will come out, and everybody will know that Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad.
I don't mind the way I look because sometimes I work on different.
This is Emes. Yeah.
The last 2 days I've been working very hard on the carpet, fixing up.